was up in the morning, I was getting ready, and I was extreme pain in my chest and down my arms, and I didn't know what was going on. I got rushed to the hospital, and within a half a day, I was paralyzed from the chest down.
Hi, it's Stacey Berger here, and I'm here with a very special guest, somebody that's very dear to me, Vian King. Thank you so much for
I'm
being
so excited
here
to be
today. You and I met, we were speaking at an event together, and I don't know, there was just some
Fireworks,
sort of connection, and just your story, who you are in the world, you inspire me, and so I'm so grateful for this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and to share your story with our community as well. So thank you for
Awesome.
being
I'm
here.
so glad to be here. Yes.
Maybe just take us into this moment where you are newly engaged.
Oh, we're gonna start there.
And I
Okay,
would just
it's
love
good,
to
good.
start there because I just think this is so pivotal to our conversation today. So would you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you know, when you aspire to what your life is going to look like, for me, all I ever wanted to do was to, you know, make an impact in the world and find someone who loves me. So we met, we fell in love. I think within 9 months we were engaged. We just knew. And to anybody out there, if you've dated a lot of frogs, you actually know when your prince comes along. So that's my history. You can read all that in my my first book. But there's basically, we met, we fell in love. It was 9 months. And I just knew that we were meant to be together. And so a week after we were engaged, I was getting ready to go out and visit some friends and show off my engagement ring. And a week after we were engaged, I ended up like getting rushed to the hospital. I was up in the morning, I was getting ready, and I was extreme pain in my chest and down my arms, and I didn't know what was going on. And so I called my parents, and they called somebody who knew how to get the ambulance for me. Finally, I got rushed to the hospital, and within a half a day, I was paralyzed from the chest down. Like I remember sitting in the hallway, first of all, because they had me hooked up. There was like morphine for the pain was so severe. And I remember just sitting there, laying there on the bed and wanting to turn over. And so at first I remember doing this, you know, and then when I wanted to turn my legs, and I remember actually just having to turn my legs, and I'm like, this is not right. I didn't clue it in right away. But then when I did it with my leg, I was like, nurse, there's something wrong. Something's not right. I can't feel my legs. And so they wheeled me into an emergency room where every 15 minutes they were checking my reflexes, you know, and it got less and less. And they didn't know if they were going to lose me. They had life support ready and waiting. And within a half a day, then I was paralyzed from the chest down. And, you know, test after test, it was I think a week of tests before I was diagnosed with transverse myelitis. And so when all this was happening, all these tests, and, you know, and Vaughn would come in every day and visit me, like he was there every day. And I remember, this is a random fact, but I'm like, of course I knew that he loved me. What man would come in and wash your face every night? You know, like I couldn't do those things. And that was just a little something that he did. But I remember thinking like, okay, what marriage is that could, like, this could be a game changer for that, yes, you know? And so with the doctors, they're saying, you know, Vian, like, it doesn't look good. Like, we're going to send you to long-term care. That was what they were going to do, because they didn't see me being even independent to be able to take care of myself, right? The next obvious question for me was like, well, will Vaughn still want me? Even though he came and visited me every day, there was still that question that I had to ask. Do you want the ring back? Like, we hadn't told anybody yet. You know, we got stopped from doing that. But I said, do you want the ring back? And, you know, he said to me, he said, Vian, you know, God gave you to me, and I'm not going to give you back now and say you're not good enough. And it was just the most amazing moment to feel. And we're going to get into it, but that was just the beginning. Even though I thought the worst was behind us, it was just the beginning. Yeah.
So you went from being completely able-bodied to within 24 hours, your life just being completely different.
Yeah.
What was that like for you mentally and emotionally?
Do you know the word denial? Love is blind, all those things. We laugh about it now. But I was in denial. Like, I'm supposed to go to work on Monday. What does that look like? I didn't know like what my life would look like, but I'm not going to stay in this, like, I'm not going to stay paralyzed. Like, I believe in faith, and I believe in healing, and I believe that this is just a passing thing, and, life is going to go on. And we really believe for that. Yeah. And that didn't happen. And so my journey of trying to figure out how to now be a person with a disability, and I'll touch on that first, because that's really important. So I'm now a person with a disability. From looking around, what you think, well, people still want you to be independent, right? And be strong. But I'm a newlywed also, because he did stay and we did get married. It's like you're out at a party and it's like, oh, honey, thanks for getting me that drink, but do I go get it myself? Or we're going through doors and it's like, oh no, I'll get the door myself because I want to show how independent I am as a person with a disability. And so in the process of me trying to work through all this emotion of not understanding, there was no guidebook. We could pause here and talk about intimacy. We could talk about being a person with a disability, being a person of faith, and all these things, and choosing to put other people's feelings first above my own. Like, I am already in a wheelchair and I'm already getting the sympathy card and feeling like a victim. I hated that. I hated it. And so I am fine. I'm fine. And I tell you, I was not fine. I was pushing down. And inside, like, I was just screaming. I kept so much inside. I didn't allow myself to mourn or whatever. And the loss of my health. And I didn't even realize that was a thing. Like, when my husband and I tried to work through all of this, and me keeping it all inside, that didn't do our marriage any favors.
No,
okay?
That's not a success formula.
That is not a success formula. And if anybody is watching like that, is in a marriage where it's like you've got things that you feel like you can't talk to your spouse about, trust me, not talking about it is the worst thing you can do. Yeah. And I think we hide behind this lie that that you can't talk about it. And I think that, anyway, I'm going to digress, but that was me. I had it and I pushed it down, and it didn't do my marriage any good, to the point where, and I'll skip over so many stories, but please read my book. And if you want to read my story, like, message me and I will send you the free PDF. Like, seriously, like, I'm not about selling. I just want the story to be heard because I believe that it will help other people in their marriage. And so basically we were living like roommates, and what happens when people aren't communicating, they're going to be drawn apart. Yeah. And so here I am, a person with a disability. I hated people seeing me in the chair. Like, I did not feel pretty, so now, like, you see me as Miss Wheelchair Canada, Miss Kindness World, and fashion model, and all these things. Yeah. And speaker and on world stages. Yeah. That was not the person that I saw back then. It was.
How do you go from there, not wanting to be seen, not communicating, to, and spoiler alert, to some of those accomplishments? How do you go from there, from here to there?
Oh, don't get it twisted. Like, the thing that I find a little frustrating at times, and even I have to keep reminding myself, is that this is not an overnight process. Yeah. It's not something that I'm going to say a dichotomy, I think, of a sentence here. It's not an overnight process. It's not a one choice, but it's many choices. Yes. Right? Like, it's not just one choice you make, but so many little choices. And like I said, I hated people seeing me in the chair. I'll tell you how bad it was that I remember flying for the first time. And my husband, we got to the checkout, and they would take my cool chair. They said that they had to take it and check it at baggage. And so I had to be carted around through the airport in this big, the hospital looking chair that was so ugly, and it had a yellow flag or orange flag that announced everybody that I was coming. And I was just like on the verge of tears. I was about to burst into tears, and my husband leans over. He said, "That's okay, sweetheart. They have to leave all the ugly chairs for the pretty girls," right? And like, it made me feel okay in that moment, but like, that was just one moment. And there was a lot of rebooting of some negative mindsets that I had about myself and my self-image that I needed to choose to change, because it wasn't enough that he stayed, even though that he's my knight in shining armor. My mom and dad think he's just like not from this earth or whatever, but that was good, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I had to choose to love myself first, and that is one of the first things I talk about in my empowered mindset, is that I got to love myself first. How did I do that? I don't know. I faked it till I maked it, first of all.
Yeah.
Like, I choose to believe the truth about myself and not the lies, like you'll never be worth anything, or, like I had these dreams to impact the world, and I wanted to make a difference. And now look at me. I'm what am I going to do in this wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so that is one choice at a time, and just believing in yourself, and not believing the lies, because there are a lot.
So how did you go down the path of the beauty pageants, the inspirational speaking? Like, where did that get born from?
Okay, so let me just give you a little bridge into that.
Yeah.
So the choosing, I have to love myself, but what does that look like? So doing the next right thing, or finding other ways to do things. Because I was like, I am not driving until I can drive with my feet, right? I'm not driving until I can drive with my feet. Well, where did that get me? I'd still be waiting, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw other people driving with a lot less mobility than me, and I wanted desperately to be independent, but didn't want to drive with hand controls. Well, I chose, I'm going to drive with hand controls. But I was convinced that doing it differently meant I was less of a person. And so that held me back. And so I was focused on all the things I was told I can't do.
Right.
And like the doctor said, I can't do this and I can't do that. I was literally having people tell me that I can't. And so all that just magnified. So choosing to do things another way was what helped me. And then I was like, I gained some new confidence, and I was like, man, if I can do this, what else can I do? And I just started realizing that, like, when I'm doing something that's going to help me, it actually helps other people see that they can do more. And there's like so many other layers to that, but like our courage truly is contagious. And when you realize your worth, that is the most sexy, beautiful thing you can have, right? And so when I started believing in myself and just saying little yeses, like...
I love that. The little yeses, the little choices, the doing what you can do, and that built the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Important. And so I'm just going along, doing my thing. So I was this negative, like just miserable person before. And then when I found myself again, and I mentioned that I had faith back then, and I actually kind of just rebelled against everything faith related. I actually graduated from Bible college, so I actually went to become a pastor.
Oh my goodness.
And this all happened to me after. I'm like, is this a sick joke, God?
Right.
Right? Like, I just literally sold my life for you, and you're going to repay me with this. That was what, like, set me on a path that, like, just was ugly.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it, and the thing is, that actually was the biggest blessing in my life. This whole journey allowed me to dig out my faith in a way that I've never felt it before. And to dig out confidence in myself that I've never had before. Growing up in a sheltered, small community, with limited mindset, and, just realizing that you are stronger. You are stronger than you think. So, fast forward to this now, when I came back to be like, you know what? I do believe in God, and I do believe that he's helping me, and I'm not going to let anybody else who tells me that, because the reason why, I'll just say this, the reason why I started moving away from God as strongly as I did, because there were people actually in the church that were telling me that I didn't have enough faith, and that's why I wasn't healed. And I believed them because that was what I believed, right? And so I just started getting to know like my faith in that way, in a new way, to realize that like, no, he didn't do this to me. But I'm going to tell you, it was the best gift I've ever been given on this earth, because what I thought was the end of something in my life, like it literally almost destroyed me, my marriage and my faith, everything got uprooted. I literally thought that my life was over, that all that garbage that I thought was trash and it was going to end my life. Literally, like the ashes, like literally, if you can envision a phoenix rising from all that, that is literally like what had happened with my life. And it's not just my life. It's not just my story. It's anybody. If you've got a mess, you've got an opportunity for just life to do amazing things. But you have to choose to take that ashes up, and you got to be like, okay, let's try to do something with this.
Well, and that's the key, Bian, right? Is the choice. Because there's lots of people who go through, hit the ashes, rock bottom, and make the choice to stay there. And I think that's so powerful, is that you took that opportunity and you made a choice. And so tell us about what you've created out of the ashes.
Oh my gosh. We got another hour. Oh, okay. So, you know, I wrote my first book, and that was great. I thought, oh, this is great. And then I wrote my second book, and things just started unfolding, right? And then, you know, I was like, oh, I think I actually do want to be a pastor. So I wrote my book. I started my nonprofit, and I'm like, I started, and I went on that path to become a pastor. I'm like, oh, this is just another way to be in people's lives in very important times in their life. And I just, I think it's funny because I can say, I can now hatch, match, and dispatch. But anyway, and so I was just doing all this thing, and then probably few months or so before I was about to be an ordained pastor, I had a friend of mine approach me and say, hey, listen, you know, there's this pageant that's coming. It's the first ever Miss Wheelchair Canada. And I was like, no, I'm about to be a pastor. I'm like, is that even legal for I'm like, anyway, it was just this weird thing. And so I consulted my mentor, and I was like, guess what? I just got asked to be a part of, but I'm not doing it because, you know, that's just whatever, right? I thought that was like, you know, and I'm over 40 at that time. I'm like, because that's not something you need to do at whatever. Anyway. And so this person said to me, well, you know, I wouldn't discount it, because like when these opportunities come, they give you a bigger platform, and they, you know, they give you a voice, and, you know, you're wanting to impact more people. And started really thinking about the platform that I can have, and being able to be in these different spaces. So that was the first step, and I won the first ever Miss Wheelchair Canada. And then like in 2 weeks after winning Miss Canada, I was representing Canada on the world stage in Poland, and I won Miss Kindness World, which is just nuts, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and then just, it's weird. Like you think, I want to tell you, you never arrive.
Yes.
But like, it's not about, you know, I've written a book, so I can stop now. Or, you know, that's great. People think that like those things aren't the destinations. Those are just like gravy, or just things that you get to do. But honestly, my stance today, and I will tell anybody, like, I get so much I love the teaching, and I love all those things. It's great when somebody sees me speak on a stage, and they see me for half an hour, and they're like, wow, Vian, that was amazing. That was a great talk. But do you know the best compliments come from like a Starbucks or a click and collect order guy that like says, oh, we love shopping for you, or whatever, because I'm actually showing that my character is actually not just for that half an hour. It's how I live my life.
You are living what you're teaching.
Yeah, and that to me is better than any platform.
Yes.
And I know I'm really out there on social media, but I'm going to tell you, I fantasize sometimes about not being on social media. And like, I would love to like make the news because of something that happened at Sobeys.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be able to like impact. Okay, I want to be here and present with you in this moment. And like, how can I add value to you right now?
I want to go back to something you said around there is no arrival. and you've accomplished these things, but there's always a new destination. So much of it is about the journey and the growth inside of that.
It's always about the journey and the growth. Like I've said so many times, it's not about what's done through you, but it's what it's done in you. And so I think that a lot of times we strive, if I can just become an author, I'll be happy. Or if I can become like a nonprofit owner, or if I could just get this amount of money, or if I could just get this.
If I could just get married.
If I could just get married.
Yeah.
They think that that's what's going to bring you happiness or whatever. But if you're putting your happiness or your confidence in something that you can get but also lose, you'll be forever at risk of losing your joy, your peace, whatever. So it's always about what it is that you feel confident in yourself, and that these things are good and you get to have them, but they're not the end all and be all.
Yeah, which goes back to that self-love and knowing who you are and that relationship with a higher power, however we define that.
Yes.
And when that's at the center of everything that we do, it really doesn't matter what's going on around us.
Yeah, even Jim Carrey said, I wish everybody could have all their dreams come true and become stinking rich. I don't know if he used that word or not.
But
and have everything they've ever wanted and realize that it's not the answer.
Yes.
I think that he probably would agree with that. It's not the destination either.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something also around learning to celebrate those successes at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And not just be on to the next thing.
Yeah. Can I just say something? Anybody who's watching, like, if you think that, like, I got it all together and I got it figured out, I want to tell you that anything that I've learned is because I've got it wrong so many times. And this whole thing about celebrating myself and learning to celebrate, learning to rest, learning to take care of myself is all just new. It's new. I think when COVID hit, it was actually when I first started to realize that I need to take care of myself. And so celebrating myself, I remember I was away for a month of speaking, and I came back and I just really felt that I was supposed to take care of myself a little bit more. And I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. I just schedule or whatever. But anyway, I looked at my schedule and there was just I didn't really truly understand what it meant to take care of me. I didn't understand what self-care was. And now I'm like learning that there's actually 7 areas of rest. I'm like, what? 7? Anyway, so celebrating myself, I realized that was, I was even listening to Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she talks about the mental fatigue, right? And it's not always negative, right? You could be long, like next thing, positive actually gives you fatigue. And I was experiencing those.
So what does self-care look like for you today?
Self-care, could be just turning off my phone and just doing nothing. I've said, several times over this last several years, I'm like, you know what? I would rather be lonely and stare at the wall by myself than to be surrounded by people who I'm going to need to do some serious brain work to get over the conversations, the negativity or whatever, right? Yeah. And in that is to be able to so if I just accomplish something, when I come back from Thailand, for example, it's like I need to not plan any work for that next week because I know that my body is going to need to recover. So knowing myself, to just slow down after you've accomplished something. But self-care could be shopping with a girlfriend. It could be staring at the wall with my PJs on for days,
Well, I think that's so important because sometimes we think, self-care has to be a bubble bath and a glass of wine. Oh, no. And it's whatever gives you joy,
Absolutely.
Right? And how you rejuvenate.
Yeah. And I actually have the 7 areas of rest in my mental health course. That people can have access to, and I'm actually doing a course in April that people can access for Zoom. It'll be a limited spot seating, but I'm going to be doing several of them down the line.
So tell us what you're excited about and what you're up to these days.
I'm excited about a lot of things. The mental health course that I've just launched in September. I'm having some great conversations with some key players in the mental health and health industry. to help people who have had their life turned upside down.
Yeah.
And not to know where to start over. And so I'm having some great conversations that you'll hear me talk about a little bit more coming down the line.
Okay.
But I just want to be able to help empower people that have had life-changing, life-altering trauma and tragedy. Now, I have to disclaimer, I'm not a mental health care professional or anything like that, and there's other things that my course, obviously, I'm not thinking that it's going to like be the end all and be all. There's medications and there's psychological care that people need.
Yeah.
But I have lived experience of how I was able to overcome, and I hope that this helps other people see that whether it's a disability or whether it's a mindset that you just think you can't do something, that I hope that what I've went through in my lived experience, I call it like my hero's blueprint, because the course is, I am the hero of my story.
Yeah.
My life experience is my superpower, and my weapons are courage, resiliency, and determination.
Well, you definitely live into all three of those in a big way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, it's easy to talk about the successes, but the successes don't come without the failures, the tribulations, the hard times. And so what are your go-to tools on the hard days and when things aren't going well? What's in your tool belt, and what do you go to?
First of all, can I just talk about, first of all, like the bad days? And so people might think that, like you've got so much success, like the bad days they're just bad days. But I'm telling you, in the midst of all of the highlights reels of my life, I had to like claw through some big heart-wrenching trauma.
Yeah.
Loss of family. My husband's dad passed away. And he was a big mentor in my life. I've had some big events happening surrounding all these highlights that I had to choose to keep going on. And so those are things that can derail you. Yeah. And so people might be looking at me and thinking, you just had a bad day and you picked yourself up and good for you. But no, like when you read my life and when you really get in to look at my life, besides the disability, and this is a quote that I want to share now because I think it's important. My father-in-law, we were preparing for his memorial, and he was mentoring me from the grave, because here I am, like feeling like how can he be gone when I seen him as the big part of my life's puzzle? Yeah. Because there was this moment when I saw my picture about traveling and making an impact in the world. Side note, my father-in-law traveled the world, and he was in over 75 countries. So of course I saw myself traveling with him, and this was how I saw my future. And I was like, this is my access to the world, right? And so when he passed away, that was a big chunk of the puzzle that I'm like, oh, well, that's gone. Like, what does this mean now? Like, I was wrong about what I saw for my future. So so I had to work through that. And so here I am, just wanting to work through some of his notes, and I came across this quote. And as soon as I saw the title, "Don't Waste Your Suffering," I knew that it was going to be a life-changing motto that, I wish I didn't say it, but it's "Don't waste your suffering." It says, life will never get easier. You'll weather one crisis only to face another. He said, you will face unwelcome circumstances and unbelievable trials, but lean into them because they're tools to help you grow stronger. He said, because a crisis is an unwelcomed opportunity to learn something new about yourself, but also discover something about your Heavenly Father. And that's what he said. And I'm like, that was just so powerful, right? So my go-tos are to stop playing the tape.
Yeah.
Right? Because if there's something happens, a bad day, like it could be any number of things. You put that tape in and you press play and record, or play and repeat. So that's one thing you got to stop doing.
Yes.
Is stop pressing play and repeat. But other times it's just change your mindset, change your mood. Like the other day, there was some stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go down and get on the bike. or I'm just gonna blare my music and
Yes.
like singing for me works, you know.
I call those pattern interrupts.
Right,
So how
yes.
do I interrupt this pattern? Because if I keep playing this, it's going to lead down a path. And so those pattern interrupts.
I
right?
love
So
that.
important.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
So that, and it could be different anytime. I don't have like this one set go-to, but I tell you, my one set go-to is like, oh dear God, I can't do this because this is too big for me, right?
Yeah.
And choosing to just focus on something different.
Yeah.
You got to change your focus.
Well, and the theme here, Vian, is choice. Choice.
Choice.
And we always have a choice.
We always do.
Always
do.
Regardless
Yeah.
of the condition,
Yeah.
the circumstance, the story.
Yeah.
There's always a choice.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, life lessons that I've learned, there's just so many. And one that keeps trying to like creep in is people pleasing. Mm-hmm. Stacy, I know that, I don't know, anybody listening, I'm probably the only one who's been fallen victim to that, right? But it creeps up in these weird ways. And I want to tell anyone watching, please don't let any decision you make be made out of fear of what other people will think of you. If you know who you are and you know what you are called to do, you are called to live your purpose on this earth. And this is going to be hard even for me to say, so I'm not saying it very lightly. Not everybody's got to like you.
Yeah, so true. Your father-in-law was a big mentor. Talk about the role of mentors, coaches, people in your life that have really made a difference.
Oh, there's just so many layers to that, because I feel like that people become your coaches when they don't even actually realize it, whether it's a stranger on the street that does something kind for you, or
teachers are everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But you know, my family like believing in me and inspiring me and encouraging me. But you know, I think people giving me opportunities when I didn't believe in myself. Mm-hmm. There's also a coach / mentor that I have in my life today. And I remember I was working through some things, and he said, Vian, and it was the people pleasing situation. We were talking about some stuff, and he said, Vian, he said, if you continue to let opposition in your life make you feel that you're not enough in that situation, it will forever limit your leadership ability. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Then I need to make that change, because you know, like I thought it was keeping the peace or whatever, right?
But to have somebody that's able to reflect that to you, so you can make a different choice again.
Even my editor, like she helped me when I didn't even realize it, with helping me grow as a writer or whatever. But she was also like a spiritual mentor that helped talk me off a ledge in other ways, you know?
Yes.
And
the important thing I think for people to recognize is so often we think we have to figure it out on our own.
Oh.
We have to rise from the ashes on our own.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important for people to know that none of us is meant to do life on our own, and we can go so much further, faster, with those right circles of support.
Yeah. You can't do it alone, and don't feel that you have to, because I think even actually the more success you have, I think that you actually do need more support.
Yeah.
Because, spoiler alert, it actually requires more courage and more self-confidence to be able to stand out there.
Well, it never goes away.
It never goes away.
Right? As long as you're growing, as long as you're trying to be better than you were yesterday, right? Yeah. The fear doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
All the things.
Yes. You just don't let the fear limit you and paralyze you, right? Like you don't, like we all have fear. We just can't let the fear like hold us back.
Exactly. So you started off with a vision of love and making an impact, and both of those things have been accomplished in your life in a major way, and probably lots of unexpected ways, but not without work, not without struggle, but most importantly because of choices and the choices you've made. So I would say that that's really the theme of your story, is this idea that we always have a choice. And I want to just celebrate you for choosing love, and for choosing to not make agreement with people who said you can't, but instead making an agreement with a bigger idea and that higher power. So I'm so grateful that you're here sharing your story with this community, and so glad to know you, and just by shining your light, the difference you're making. So,
Oh, thank you. It was such a blessing to be here. And, you know, success and all those things, it is a choice, and you have to work really hard for it. And if someone was going to ask me, what does it take to be successful? Failure. It's not optional.
yeah.
It's mandatory. So, yeah, you just have to work through it and be okay to work through the hard stuff.
Yeah, so good. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Vianne.
Thank
We
you.
will put all of your, if you want to learn more about Vianne and her book and her mental health course, we'll put all of those links in the description below so you can check that out. And again, Vianne, just thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for being here. And I hope that you're inspired, not just inspired, but what action are you going to take? So what lessons can you take and apply these into your life? I am Stacey Berger. Here is to you living a life that you love.